Hi, Mermaid Junkies. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I said that I was going to get the video about procrastination out yesterday, but I didn't. So, forgive me. I was having so much fun yesterday. You know how I'm very much into energy and being inspired, and so I really don't ever set a schedule. And so I happened to find a beautiful little place by the lake to take some lovely little pictures, and so I did some writing and things. And so anyway, I am going to share a video with you today about procrastination. And I think it's interesting because how many times do we live in we live in a world that is basically induced by most action oriented way of life, like living an action-oriented life. And not that there's anything wrong with being action-oriented. Actually, that's a good thing if you're in the right vibration and right frequency, right? But I think procrastination, when you think of procrastination, for me, I think it means I attach so many negative connotations to procrastination, like feeling guilty, or I should be doing this, or obligation. I don't really want to do it, but I need to do it, And I think procrastination is a beautiful way for the universe it's a way aligned people recognize that if you're not in alignment, that you really probably shouldn't, not probably, but you shouldn't act on something if you don't feel motivated to do it. If you're doing it through all these other reasons that you feel like, oh, I have to, or I should. We should get to the point to where we never have to do anything in our lives that we don't want to do. Because actually what happens if you do things out of obligation or with the wrong intent behind the particular action, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you try to do anything, have you ever noticed in life if you try to push things along like through action, it's basically what you're doing is not being in alignment, and you're using much more effort in the action-oriented object, or in the action-oriented particular thing that you're doing, instead of waiting to be aligned. And so I'm going to give you a prime example of how the universe is always looking out for us. And I think that if we can learn to recognize and get ourselves in alignment first before we go and have any action put forth afterwards, we will do completely 98% less work that we feel that we need to do. Does that make any sense? I used to live in a world that had, I had a Franklin Covey, a day planner, and I basically was do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And that kind of, in a sense, all of that action that I was putting forth was actually, now when I can look back through my journey, is that I was doing all of these things to overcompensate for the fact that I wasn't feeling like I didn't have enough self-love to feel like me not doing anything is not really me not doing anything. Does that make any sense? So many people are out in life to do things, to validate themselves as a person. And so on my to-do checklist, I would do laundry, clean the closets, do this, take the kids to school, make lunches, cook this, bake this, sew this, go and run this errand, do this, clean the kitchen, mop the floors, vacuum the house, clean all the baseboard. I always had a to-do list that was a gazillion things in one day to do. And I think that the reason that I would always be action oriented into doing those things was because I didn't align myself, for one thing, and the other one was it was like pushing a noodle, in order to feel validated as a person, see, I do all of this stuff, see, I'm worth something, you know what I mean? And so now I do 98% less work, but I'm massively, a million times more productive. And it's really all about alignment. I'll give you an example about how being in alignment is so important, and how being in alignment is so important. And let me give you an example. Okay, so about 6 months ago, like, there was the, aftermath and everything of my divorce from my previous husband. And so, when you're going through all of the different things, like, I got my car, and it still I had not ever gotten the title changed over to my name, and the registration changed to my name, and the car in my name. And so, and furthermore, like, I think I was still on his insurance, my ex's insurance, because I hadn't had possession of the vehicle at the time. Well, I was driving the vehicle, I had driven it down at Christmas time. So when I drove it down at Christmas time, I still was on that insurance, and it was Florida, a Florida license plate and all that. So it was fine. But I knew when the divorce was final and everything, I knew that it was time for me to have to get insurance. But I kept putting it off, not feeling like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to get a policy plan that's going to be like something that I can afford financially for myself. Because at the time, Jeffrey and I weren't married or anything, and I was still legally married to my ex, right? And so I just kept putting it off, and I was like, it's going to cost me hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And so I just thought, everything works out for me, and I'm not going to worry about it. Well, time continued to pass, and around the time of my particular birthday, and it was tax time and everything, my ex sends me an email, and saying, you have like 3 days or whatever, like the tag was going to expire. The insurance policy, I guess he was looking into other insurance policies for himself, and so he wanted to take me off of the insurance, and which is understandable, and I realized that. But it was like, I kept feeling like all of those months adding up to me needing to get insurance. I need to get car insurance. I need to get car insurance. And but I just kind of put it off, and I was just like, I just didn't feel inspired to do it. It was just really causing me a lot of like, ugh, I didn't like internally how I was feeling. And so I thought, you know what? The universe is always working things out for me, so I'm not going to worry about it. Well, I get this email from my ex, and he's like, you have like a week to get insurance. And because I'm taking you off of the policy and all that. And so, that gave me a week, and I'm thinking, okay, so I have a week to find insurance, and now I have to do all of this. Like, it's a lot of work to go to the courthouse and have the tag change. Plus, it costs money to do that, right? And so I was just thinking, okay, well, I don't know where the money's going to come, but I'm just going to put it out in the universe. The universe knows that I need this insurance, and I need this car in my name and all that, right? Well, it's so beautiful because 2 days before, okay, so that he gave me a week to do it, and I still, even that day and the next day or whatever, I was just like, I'm not feeling it. I don't know why, but I'm just not feeling around. Like, I don't want to call around and get quotes. I just wasn't inspired. And so it was 2 days before I wasn't going to be driving with insurance, and I happened to feel inspired after meditation one day, and I had gotten this insurance, like it was one of those pamphlet things in the mail that you get, like it's kind of like saying, hey, why don't you join up with our insurance company or whatever. And so that prompted me to like something, I mean, it was spirit, it was my inner guidance system, like saying, why don't you look into insurance today? And so this is 2 days prior, right? And I thought, okay, well, I'll go ahead and just call the insurance company that I was with my previous spouse, and maybe I'll just get my own insurance. And so I call, and this is the beautiful thing about how and this is the beautiful thing about how the universe works. because apparently my last name, my prior last name was on a policy that had long been canceled. And so I was trying to find, the way to get a new policy and see how much that was going to cost and everything. Well, things weren't working out with that policy, and it was like, oh no, you canceled that policy and you have to pay like $495 and then you can be reinstated and all that kind of stuff. Because see, prior, the insurance was under my name from my ex. So he canceled the policy. Little did I know that it was under my name though. So now I'm left hanging with this amount of money. So I'm like, I don't have $495. It's already going to cost me $500 and something to have the car put back in my name and get my new tags and license plates and all that stuff, right? So I go, okay. So I hung up the phone and I called my mom. And the lady had said to me on the phone, she said, Mrs. Stafford, you might want to look into... because I gave her my maiden name, and she said, well, your mother has a large policy and she has many vehicles on there. If you ask her to put you on her policy, it's only going to be $20 extra for her to have your car put on her policy. So I was thinking that was the universe answering my request. I mean, my intention that I had set out about insurance. So I call my mom. She calls her insurance company immediately. I immediately got put on it, and it was $20. And so I basically don't even pay for insurance now. Both of our vehicles are paid for, and they both, the insurance is, we don't even have to pay insurance, basically. And so not only that, but the beautiful thing is I had been gifted $400 from my parents before that, and instead of giving me the money, they said, well, how would you like to use the money? How would you like to be gifted this money? Because they did it for 1 month. And I said, you know what, I think it would be really good if you wouldn't mind going with me to the courthouse and having all of my stuff transferred and my title and everything put in my name. And so my father went down to the courthouse with me. It was as easy as pie. And that is the story of being inspired and waiting to be inspired by source and your inner being, because your inner being knows the path of least resistance to get you to wherever you want and desire to be in life. But I think most of the time, you guys, we have a major, and I understand this is a conditioning that we're raised with, because I can completely vouch for it. And but if that's one thing that I can say, that before when I was super religious in a religion, knew several religions, but I found that I'm a much better person, much happier person being a spiritual person. And obviously I believe in a higher being and that kind of thing. I mean, that's all I talk about is God, source, But that's the one thing that I think that I'm so grateful and appreciative of, is that as an early child, I think we internally we know already and have this sense of trust in a higher source, a higher being. And I think that that's the reason that we're so very prompted to be action oriented, because as we grow older from being children and very pure, coming from source right away, we're conditioned gradually out of that trust in our higher inner being. And I think it's just completely natural that we do trust source, but we are conditioned out of that as we grow and age. Whereas I think so what I'm saying is we overcompensate for it by being action oriented. Like if you're not getting a job, or and you're tired of waiting around, or you want to meet someone and you're tired of waiting around, you start putting action into your schedule. Well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to date and I'm just going to see where this takes me and all this. And it's like, if you can just sit back and relax and wait to be inspired, because I think that's the thing, is most people don't believe that source has their back. They don't trust that your inner being source, your higher self, has all of this stuff taken care of. Like, we don't have to worry about not being, not getting what we want in life. And so if we can just kind of remember that if we wait to be in alignment and then take action, I mean, do it like a sailfish, right? I mean, that's the fastest fish in the ocean. And so when you have red hot and you feel like, you know what, I cannot wait around for this, I'm so inspired to do this, that's when you know when to move into action. But if you're not inspired and it's lukewarm and you're like, and you have all this resistance to it, like I was about the insurance, I was like, I don't feel like doing it. I don't want to do it. Knowing that, you have other people prompting you like, oh, you shouldn't wait to the last minute. You shouldn't wait to the last minute. Oh, if you wait to the last minute, you're going to have to pay out the nose and da-da-da. And it's like not everybody, but majority of the people are so misaligned. Like, they're so out of alignment that they only understand action-oriented progression. And it's like, if you can just realize Source has your back, your inner being knows everything that you need and want, and is going to provide a way for you. If you'll just get yourself into alignment, that's our job, is to get into alignment and then wait for the inspiration. I can't tell you how many times that has happened, but that's just the insurance is a prime example of me going, wow, that was really so super inspired. Like, it ended up costing me no money, where it was supposed to cost me upwards to probably close to $1,000 for me to get all of that stuff done, right? And then every month the policy amount. But it's like, I don't even pay insurance. I mean, how much better is that than you can't, there is no way you could align this or that in the universe to set that up better for me than that. Like, it's just amazing what Source can do for us if we will just trust yourself and trust your inner being and trust Source, right? And everything will always work out for you. And so I know that this is the other difficult thing, because I completely understand that, when it looks like I'm not doing anything, because it's like, well, what do you do all day, Raquel? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, when someone asks you that, you just like, I'm not doing anything. I'm being. Like, I'm waiting for my energy to align. And they're like, yeah, but I don't see you doing anything. Like, what are you doing? Like, tell me what you're doing. And it's like, nope, not doing anything. I'm aligning my energy. And they're like, well, have you seen a doctor lately? Because none of this stuff that you're talking about is working out. But it's like, you know what? I don't need for other people to validate me in knowing that all of my goals and dreams and desires are like, they're spinning in my vortex over here. And so I don't need for anyone else to validate me or say, look, see, this is manifesting. Because in my mind, and it's already been manifested. That's step 2 in the process of, contrast. First, we receive contrast. Second, because of contrast, we throw that in our vortex, and Source answers us. So it may not be visually right now, but it's already manifested. Because, if you look at it like this, like, we're human beings living a spiritual life, and I really believe that all of this stuff has already happened. Like, I've already experienced that, and that's what deja vu is. You guys ever have deja vu? Like, I have deja vu moments all the time. I should do a little video on deja vu and what that really, really is. But anyway, I hope this encouraged you to not be so concerned about being action-oriented, but just align yourself with spirit, and then watch how inspired the universe will collaborate and be cooperative in helping you to manifest the things that you desire. Whether that's a job or, going to fill out applications. If you don't feel like doing it, then you know what? You're going to end up getting into a job that you might be able to push yourself through, action-oriented situation, but you're going to end up hating that job. Something's going to happen, because if you're not aligned with it, that's Source's way of trying to show you that, like, just wait on me. Like, I know the perfect thing, because you don't know all those things in your vortex that you've already had lined up, like in previous lifetimes that you came to Earth with, because you've kind of forgotten those things. Like, you can remember certain things in your life about, like, oh, I really want this in life. Like I remember, you know, wanting to be a writer and an artist when I was a little girl. But all of those things, there's all these little teeny incremental things that I've forgotten. Like, subconsciously, I can't even remember them, but Source remembers them. And so he's always, not he, but they are collectively, a consciousness is lining those things up for us. So just remember that Source always has your back, and just remember to just sit back and relax a little bit. Don't be so concerned about what people are thinking about you. Don't give two rips about if people think you're lazy or whatever, because you know what? You're not being lazy. You're waiting for the inspiration. And so I hope that encourages you, and I hope that you have a lovely day. And as always, I'm yours until my next swim. Ciao.